CEO Daddy. Chapter 1276, Waiting for him to marry her. The girl took a breath of cold air. She only felt that her liver and lungs were cold. The wound hurt when it looked, but why the man was still playing all kinds of jokes with her. He simply didn't take his life seriously. She had to lie on her for 10.5 months. If she injured like that, what's wrong? Worried about me? When the man saw that her beautiful eyes were filled with tears and that she was staring at his wound like a wooden chicken, he asked her with a smile. Alvina Miller didn't speak and only turned around. She first held back the tears in her eyes, then asked in a low voice, "What should I do?" "Teach me. Disinfect my wound first, then bandage it." Joseph Grant saw that Alvina was really sad for him. Joseph felt too embarrassed to continue teasing her, so he finally opened his mouth to speak seriously. Alvina Miller pursed her lips, nodded, found the disinfectant, picked up the tweezers and used a ball of cotton to get the disinfectant, then lightly smeared it on his wound. Ouch! The man's entire body shook. He was in so much pain that he instantly clenched his hands into fists. The veins on his forehead also bulged. It was clear how painful he was. "And, I'm sorry. Was my attack too harsh? Let me be gentler." Alvina Miller immediately took over the responsibility, her beautiful face also turning white. "No, the disinfectant made my wound hurt. Let's continue," the man said hoarsely. Alvina Miller could only continue disinfection him. The whole process, after a minute, the man also endured, all the way until the end. He suddenly relaxed and his eyes became misty, as though he had used up all his energy. He became weak and leaned against the back of the chair, slightly closing his eyes. Alvina Miller slowly took out the gauze and lightly wrapped it around him a few times. In the end, she didn't know how to tie the knot, only knowing how to make a bow, so she tied a bow to it. "All right, hurry up and put your clothes on. It's very cold," Alvina Miller warned him softly. "Help me." At this moment, the man was truly tired, and his voice had also become a bit weak. Without saying a word, Alvina Miller immediately buttoned up his clothes. "Do you want to go to bed and lie down? Do you want to leave tonight?" Alvina Miller asked in a seemingly casual manner, but her nerves were stretched taut, wanting to hear his answer. "Do you want me to leave?" The man didn't answer her question, but looked back at her with his beautiful eyes. Alvina Miller packed the medicine boxes quickly. Hearing his question, she paused for a moment, then whispered, "If I tell you to stay, would you stay?" "If you want me to stay, I'm not leaving." The man still smiled. Alvina Miller got up and placed the medicine chest back onto the makeup table. She walked to the window, opened it to take a look, and sighed softly. "The snow outside is heavy. It's definitely very cold. Otherwise, you don't go, just stay here for the night." "All right, you go to my room and turn on the lights. I'm not leaving tonight." A satisfied smile filled the bottom of Joseph Grant's eyes. Alvina Miller was surprised for a moment. "Do you still want to go back to your room to sleep?" "No, I'm going to sleep with you tonight. I'm telling you to turn on the lights to deceive some people." The man gave a light snort. When he thought about the bullets he had been shot with, his gaze turned extremely cold. Alvina Miller trembled. The amount of information in the man's voice was too much, and she was unable to accept it. What did he mean, sleeping with her? "Oh, then I'll turn on the light." "Oh right, do you eat?" "I haven't eaten yet," Alvina Miller asked him as she was about to leave the room. "I don't have one either. I want to get someone to send something over, but I don't want anyone to disturb us, so I don't call. Just take a look and see if there's anything else you can eat. Just eat whatever you want, Joseph Grant said with a light smile. All right, wait for me for a moment. After Alvina Miller finished speaking, she went out of the room and ran to the bedroom furthest away from Joseph Grant to turn on the light. Soon after, she stomped down the stairs and opened the fridge, which was filled with food. She had to think of a way to replenish her vitality. The fridge was filled with fresh beef. She had gone to the supermarket to buy it yesterday, so she decided to make him a bowl of beef noodles. Recently, Alvina Miller had been living by herself and had learned a few delicious foods from the menu. After working in the kitchen for half an hour, Alvina Miller took the 2 bowls of noodles and went upstairs. Pushing the door open, she found Joseph Grant sitting there, on the phone with someone, as though he was talking about something very important. Seeing Alvina Miller come in with a steaming hot dinner, Joseph Grant hung up the phone in a hurry. "What did you cook?" The man looked over with interest. "Finally," he praised. "It smells pretty good. When do you learn to cook?" "When you're not here," Alvina Miller answered very naturally. She placed them on a small round table by the side of the sofa, so they sat down on a small sofa on the other side. Joseph Grant first took a spoonful of soup. The taste was unexpectedly very delicious, and once again, he praised the soup. "Not bad, Alvina. I have truly wronged you. You are the young miss of the Miller family, but because of me, you still need to cook yourself for dinner. I don't feel wronged. I'll do it myself. It's a good meal for me," Alvina Miller said with a beaming smile. She was already very hungry. With a bowl of noodles wrapped around, she quickly put it into her mouth. However, because of how hot it was, her tongue was burning hot to the point of numbing. "Don't be so impatient. Eat slowly." Joseph Grant looked at her cute little movements and laughed. He didn't know why his time with her slowed down. He didn't want to waste even a single inch of his time. He only wanted to make trouble for her and laugh with her. "Do you ask me to stay in the room here for a reason?" Alvina Miller suddenly asked him. "Well, if anyone will be watching my house, they will know how far we are," Joseph Grant said in a low voice. "People will think that you hate me, so you let me stay in the most remote room." Alvina Miller nodded. "No, perhaps other people would think it is because you hate me that you choose the room furthest away from me," the man corrected her. "All right, no matter what, in the eyes of outsiders, our relationship might be as incompatible as fire and water," Alvina Miller said while grinning. She was not angry at all, and did not feel wronged at all. "Alvina, would you blame me for not giving you a warm environment?" Joseph Grant blamed himself. He clearly wanted to give her a sense of security, but because he loved her, she became unsafe. "That won't happen. Sunlight will always be after the storm. I'm very patient. When your career is stable, you must promise to give me a grand wedding. Just let me be the legitimate one." Alvina Miller seemed to be joking on the surface, but her beautiful eyes were filled with anticipation and yearning. Right now, every night, when she dreamed, she would do all sorts of scenes regarding Joseph Grant. I promise you with my life." Joseph Grant suddenly extended his hand out and held her hand, afraid that his words were not strong enough to make her feel safe, so he warmed her up. Alvina Miller's beautiful eyes lit up and the corner of her mouth raised into a smile. She shyly lowered her head and said, Of course I believe you. You don't say such sweet words." Only now did Joseph Grant realize that he was actually this excited. This feeling of losing control for love. Even himself found it funny. The two of them continued to eat their noodles in silence. Alvina Miller even gave the beef mince in her bowl to him. Joseph Grant confused and asked why you don't eat beef. I don't like eating meat, you know. I want to lose weight, Alvina Miller said while beaming. Seeing the hidden thoughts in her eyes, Joseph Grant slightly raised his lips. Don't give it to me anymore. You're really not fat. But I still can't eat too much. Alvina Miller felt that he had seen through her thoughts, and her face became hot. After finishing the meal, Alvina Miller cleaned up the table and poured 2 cups of hot milk. When she was going upstairs, Alvina Miller started to let her imagination run wild again. Tonight, were they really going to go together? Could she have accidentally opened his wound again? Chapter 1277. She came to warm him up. Alvina Miller placed the milk on the table and looked at the man who was staring at her with a gentle gaze. The corner of his mouth was always carrying a faint smile, and this feeling of being watched made Alvina Miller's heart beat quickly, and her face flush. She had always felt that the man who looked at her was very eager, even. It contained some ambiguous factors. Since everyone was an adult, it was normal for them to have feelings for each other. Furthermore, if a man and woman were alone in a room without any presumptuous thoughts, wouldn't it make them immortal saints? Do you want a bath? Alvina Miller's beautiful eyes flashed twice, and without looking at him, she asked softly, "How do I wash? I can touch my wound, but I can wash my feet." When the man saw her shy appearance, he felt an itch in his heart. He didn't know which words came out of his mouth, but he turned in an indescribable direction. "Then I'll bring you a bucket of hot water." Alvina Miller turned around and went into the bathroom. Not long later, she brought half a bucket of hot water to the front of him, and in the next second, she squatted down and stretched her hand out to grab the man's leg. "I do it myself." Joseph Grant was still very embarrassed. Although as a man, he should not care about trifling matters, but to ask her to take off his shoes and socks in front of a woman he liked, he still felt embarrassed. "I don't mind." "What do you mind?" Seeing that the man was shy, Alvina Miller immediately laughed out loud. "It's not good to trouble you with this kind of thing. Go and take a bath." Joseph Grant's handsome face was still warm as he urged her with a low voice. "All right, I'm going to take a bath. You wash your feet." Alvina Miller could no longer force him, so she turned around to find her pajamas and decided to take a bath. After Alvina Miller finished her shower and returned, Joseph poured the water on himself and sat down on the bed. He held a cell phone in his hands, and looked at things with a serious expression. Seeing Alvina Miller coming in, Joseph Grant's serene eyes slightly froze. Alvina Miller was a girl who loved to be beautiful, so, as it was so late in the night, she had also washed her hair. At this moment, while wiping her dripping hair, she ran in. "The corridor is so cold," Joseph Grant asked somewhat speechlessly. "Since it's so cold, why are you still washing your hair? Aren't you afraid of getting sick by washing it at night?" "It's fine. I can blow it dry right now." The thing that Alvina Miller could not tolerate the most was the oil in her hair. So, regardless of whether it was cold or not, she had to clean herself up. She took the hair dryer, sat down at her dressing table, and began to blow her long hair. Her long hair was dark and beautiful at her waist, showing a natural wavy figure. She was blowing her hair seriously, but she didn't realize that the man's eyes had become deep again. Joseph Grant stared at the woman who was minding her own business and blowing her own hair. Her fingers gently lifted up her long hair and gave off an indescribable feeling, making him want to go over and kiss her beautiful hair. Alvina Miller was always simple. She did not know that the eyes of the man behind her had turned wolf, as if he was staring at his prey. He did not give up, and even wanted to pounce on his. Alvina Miller quickly and nimbly dried her hair. She reached out to support the head of her forehead with her hand, and turned around, which shocked Joseph Grant, who had already looked a little absent-minded. His pair of delicate eyes quickly moved away, and his handsome face heated up for no reason, maybe because the light in the room had been dimmed by Joseph Grant, but Alvina Miller did not notice his shy expression. Instead, she walked to the other side of the bed and wanted to lie down, but Joseph Grant whispered to her, "Sleep by my side." Alvina Miller was slightly surprised when she saw the man quickly move to her side. "What, is Mr. Vice President warming my bed?" Alvina Miller already saw through his intentions, and immediately narrowed her beautiful eyes, laughing incomparably happily. "Don't you say you are afraid of the cold." Joseph Grant remembered what she said. She said that it was easy for her hands and feet to become cold, so he took the initiative to warm her bed. "Thank you so much. I won't be polite." Alvina Miller immediately went around, and then lay down on the bed. It was a warm feeling indeed, and this warmth, expelled the cold of winter, went deep into one's heart. "How are you going to sleep? You can't press your wound anymore." Alvina Miller felt that it was awkward sleeping alone. She turned her head to look at Joseph and asked with concern, "I can only sleep on my side." After he finished speaking, the man also laid down, turning his body to the side just to face her. Actually, Joseph Grant had purposely warmed the side he wanted to sleep on earlier, so that when he was sleeping on his side, he could face her. A man's vigilance would sometimes be used on the woman he loved. Alvina Miller's beautiful eyes blinked twice. Oh no, in this entire night, did the man sleep facing her? "That, are you cold? Do you want me to come closer?" It was only then that Alvina Miller realized that the man was actually sleeping properly by the side of the bed. He did not press towards the middle, so she could only take the initiative to ask him out of concern. "Can I?" Joseph Grant's beautiful eyes lit up slightly, but he was actually ecstatic in his heart. Hearing that she actually didn't mind him leaning over, he was obviously happy. "Of course, you can. You're already injured to this extent. Could it be that I'm afraid of you?" Alvina Miller immediately laughed, feeling that it was easy to tease a righteous man like him, and wanted to bully him. Joseph Grant raised his eyebrows slightly, and said disapprovingly, "That's not necessarily true. Once a man comes with crazily, he won't care about anything." Alvina Miller's petite body trembled. Was it really like that? After Joseph Grant finished speaking, the sturdy body suddenly approached him, and Alvina Miller wanted to go back on her words, but it was too late. "I'm sleeping. Good night." Alvina Miller was still not used to having someone else by her side. Moreover, it was a Joseph Grant who was brimming with a dangerous male aura. She instinctively turned to the side with her back facing him, forcing herself to close her eyes and quickly fall asleep. Joseph Grant was still in ecstasy just a moment ago when he saw her turn around. His handsome face immediately froze. How could this woman be so unfriendly to him? Can't you tell that what he just said was purposely to scare her? Her sleeping posture, which was so guarded, which truly injured Joseph Grant. Since he was unhappy, Joseph Grant naturally wanted to test her out once more. Thus, he reached out and wrapped his arms around her slender waist, and his well-built body also directly stuck to her. Alvina Miller had never been able to sleep, and she was extremely clear-headed. She could feel every single movement and breath of a man, not to mention the warm palm that suddenly appeared from her waist. What are you doing?" Alvina Miller asked him nervously. "Nothing. Your body is so warm." Joseph Grant's low voice came from behind her. "Do you feel cold?" Alvina Miller was slightly startled. "Yeah, a little. Maybe I've lost too much blood and my vitality was greatly damaged. I used to feel cold, but tonight I feel exceptionally cold," Joseph Grant said as he mocked himself, feeling wronged. As soon as he stopped talking, he felt Alvina's small body turn around, with her back facing him. In the next second, she reached out and hugged his waist, putting her warm body into his embrace. Her pink face leaned over. "Is it still cold now?" Joseph Grant looked overwhelmed from the treatment. Was this woman really that gullible? He had only pretended to be pitiful. She actually pitied him. "Yeah, it's very warm now." Joseph Grant really did not dare to do anything evil. He straightened his body and allowed her to lean on him without moving. Alvina Miller didn't have any other thoughts in her heart at the moment, but hearing him say that his vital energy was severely damaged, her heart ached. Under the warm blanket, Alvina Miller quickly fell asleep. On the other hand, Joseph Grant was facing a crisis of insomnia. Maybe he thought more, but the content was also more plentiful because the person in his embrace to be a girl with a sweet and fragrant smell, that faint, sweet yet not greasy, continued to irritate his nose, causing him not want to have a peaceful sleep. The breathing of the girl in his embrace had become even, which showed that she had fallen into a deep sleep. Joseph Grant sighed in his heart. Chapter 1278 was caught doing something bad. This night, Alvina slept steadily. In addition, she occasionally put her thin legs on the men's legs. Two small hands will also touch in the unconscious situation. In addition, it is honest. Joseph's shoulders faint pain, so that he cannot turn over at all. So that sleeping sideways was really uncomfortable. Until the early morning, he did not sleep for a little while. The two of them were woken up by the alarm clock that Alvina Miller had set. Alvina Miller sat up almost instinctively and rubbed her eyes. Joseph Grant slowly sat up with one hand. His lips formed a lazy smile. "Good morning. Do you sleep well last night?" Alvina Miller tugged her long hair that was in a mess, and laughed. "It's good to sleep. It feels like two people sleeping. It's just a little warmer." Of course, the benefits of sleeping with two people are plentiful. I'll tell you about it later. Joseph Grant started being dishonest very early in the morning. After he finished speaking, he got off the bed and made a phone call. Then said to Alvina Miller, who was about to go to the bathroom, "I'll be going first. My people are waiting for me downstairs. Is your wound all right? Do you want me to change your medicine before you leave?" Alvina Miller knew that he wanted to avoid her, so he left early in the morning. However, she was more worried about the wounds on his body. "It's okay, don't worry. I have a doctor downstairs." As Joseph Grant spoke, he walked in front of her and intentionally messed up her hair. "If I have time, I'll find some time to visit you." "Okay." Alvina Miller blushed. Why did she feel such a warm feeling? However, This man had turned her hair into a chicken nest out of disgust. Joseph Grant left reluctantly. Alvina was holding onto her own cup, her mouth holding onto a toothbrush. She leaned on the curtain and brushed while looking at the group of carriages below. He leave just like that, Alvina Miller sighed in her heart. Strangely, what kind of emotion was this? Was she worried about her gains and losses? But she hadn't even gotten anything. Why did she feel like she had lost something? Alvina Miller hurriedly brushed her teeth, so as to not give herself another chance to indulge in her wild thoughts. In Leo Williams' private apartment, under the night sky, rain and snow was falling profusely. Outside the balcony was still a pile of snow, but inside the bedroom, the temperature was as warm as spring. Leo William had just showered and was about to walk out of the bathroom when he saw Marianne in pink pajamas stooping down to do something. The man had a dry towel in his hand and was about to dry his hair. Seeing her guilty conscience, he couldn't help but sneak behind the curtain of the bathroom. With a smile, he decided to see what kind of evil this little girl was going to do. Leo thought Mary must be playing some kind of surprise for him, and he liked to see her like that. At this time, Marianne seemed to have made a decision out of pain. She stood up, quickly ran to her dressing table, opened a small box, took out an item with her fingers, and then quickly ran back to the bedside table. What does she takes? Leo Williams' handsome eyes were filled with confusion. Just when Leo William decided to go over and see what kind of trick she was playing, he lightened his footsteps. He walked behind her and watched her every move with his arms around his chest. The little girl was holding a thin needle in one hand and two small packaging bags that she needed to use every night on the other hand. Soon after, Leo William saw her holding a needle to pass over the wrapping. "Mary, what are you doing?" Leo William, who had clearly seen all of this, had a face full of shock. Suddenly, Marianne, who was frightened by the man's voice, dropped the tools in her hand. Her other hand quickly grabbed the two bags and carried them to her back. "Nothing. Have you finished bathing? Hold out your hand." Leo William walked towards her step by step, his voice low and serious. "I don't have anything in my hand. What do you want to see?" Marianne's beautiful face immediately turned red. As expected, she was not the type to do bad things. Why would she act at a time like this? It was over. She had been caught red-handed. Leo had already extended his palm towards her. His domineering gaze made Marianne feel guilty and could only extend her hand, allowing the thing in her hand to fall into his palm. "Why do you take this needle? What do you want to do?" Leo William frowned. He truly did not understand what she was thinking. I am." Marianne lowered her head, looking like a child who was waiting to be lectured for doing something wrong. She subconsciously pointed at him, then raised her head and mustered her courage to say, "I just want to see the child of us looks like." Leo William. As Marianne said this, she uneasily lifted her eyes and peeked at the man's expression. "Why do you think of these things?" Leo William was at a loss whether to cry or laugh at her. "Why can't I think? We've been dating for so long, and your mom and my mom have already agreed to let us be together. What's next is to think about children," Marianne retorted. Leo William bent over and picked up the needle that she dropped a moment ago, then turned around and placed it back into her small box. Then, he casually threw the two bags that she broke into the trash can. Finally, he turned around and walked in front of Mary with a doting look in his eyes. He placed his hand on her slender shoulders and said, "Mary, you promised me that before we get married, you won't want any children." "I promised. But now I want to go back on my word." Marianne's beautiful eyes also looked straight at him. "I go to see Sister Linwood today. She is already 6 months pregnant." "I see that your mother was staring at her stomach happily. All the while, she must be hoping to have a few more grandchildren. I am just thinking, I am also a woman. I am already an adult. Why can't I have a child? If I couldn't give birth to your child, your mother, Mary, remember, you are still young and you are still a child. How can you think about such things?" Leo Williams' heart ached. He pulled her into his embrace, pressed his lips against her forehead and muttered softly, "I won't allow you to think about these things. I already said, before we get married, I won't let you suffer any suspicion." Marianne was tightly hugged by the man. Her face was pressed against his chest. She clearly heard the man's heartbeat was extremely fast, but why was his voice so calm? "Leo William, I'm sorry." Marianne suddenly blamed herself. She could feel that the man was very angry, and everything was because her actions just now were wrong. "Don't think about it anymore. I'll explain everything to my mom. Now that my brother's child is about to be born, she won't be in the mood to care about whether we have children or not." Leo William gently pushed her away and told her word by word while staring at her charming face, "I know, I will never do this again." Marianne knew that the reason why the man was so angry was to protect her. In fact, she was also very conflicted and scared. She actually wasn't that anxious to have children. She was just feeling that Leo Williams' mother liked child. If she could get pregnant, would she accept her more? "If I catch you continuing to do such boring things, let's see how I'll deal with you." Although Leo Williams scolded her, he extended his hand and gently caressed her long hair. "As long as you don't like it, I won't do it. I promise." Marianne immediately extended her hand out and swore, "All right, it's not that serious. It's getting late. Go to sleep." Leo William chuckled. "We fall asleep just like that." Marianne secretly looked at his expression with her beautiful eyes, afraid that he was still angry at her actions just now. "Otherwise, don't you work all day today? Aren't you tired when you shouted during dinner just now? Are you not tired now?" Leo William was helpless against her. "You're not afraid that I've dealt with everything, are you?" Marianne was not a person who could hide her feelings, so she asked directly. "Then tell me, do you do it?" Leo William raised his eyebrows and stared at her. "Of course not. I only accept those two just now. Nothing else," Marianne explained with a serious face. Chapter 1279. The Mystery Be Unraveled. The bedtime episode turned over. Leo William basically could not bear to scold this little girl, as he continued to hug her tightly during the night, falling into a deep sleep. Marianne also decided that she would not do such a foolish thing again in the future, and she should be confident in Leo William. Early in the morning, Marianne woke up from her dreams, washed her face and rinsed her mouth. Walking out of the living room, she heard the sizzling sounds of fried eggs coming from the kitchen, and a burnt smell floated out. Marianne stretched her body and entered the kitchen. Early in the winter morning, water droplets hung on the glass window, reflecting the man who seriously cooked breakfast. Leo was wearing a high-collar knitted sweater and a pair of flaxseed casual trousers, and the whole man was filled with the smell of young masculinity. Although Leo William was indeed much older than Mary, Compared to Marianne's age, he was still in the prime of a man's life. He was full of the mature charm of a man by his every behavior, and which could definitely capture a woman's heart easily. Marianne blinked her hazy eyes that had yet to wake up, and looked at the man's tall and handsome figure with a smile. She lazily said, "Morning. When do you get up?" "I've just woken up. Are you hungry?" Leo William had noticed her for a long time, and as he was busy with other things, he took out the hot soy milk that he had just made. He brought it in front of her and offered it to her. "Drink while it's hot." Marianne reached out and took it. Both of her hands rested on her palms and the warm cup body made her feel like she was being warmed up early in the morning. "Are you really going to accompany me to see a show today?" Marianne asked happily. "Don't you tell me to go with you." The man's hand movements became stiff as he looked at her with his misty eyes. "Yeah, I tell you to go, but you don't have to. You can refuse." Marianne lowered her head and took another sip, still feeling that the taste was really good. "You know I can refuse you." The man's lips raised slightly. No wonder he didn't wear a proper suit so early in the morning. The reason was that he wanted to accompany Marianne to the jewelry show of winter products at 10 o'clock. Coincidentally, Marianne was also one of the invited models. Even if he pushed the job, he wanted to personally witness her beauty. "It's so early in the morning, yet you are so sweet. Today, I want to reward you." Marianne immediately put on a queen's posture and said. Leo William was startled, then smiled even more. "All right, today you give me a gift. Don't worry, I'll definitely give it to you. Besides, I've already thought of a gift." Marianne smiled and said with confidence. Leo William was curious, so he asked, "What is it? Can you tell me in advance?" "No, I have to keep it a secret. You'll know when the exhibition is over." Marianne laughed with incomparable mysteriousness. After finishing their breakfast, Leo William personally drove towards the jewelry show with Marianne. On the way, Marianne used a small mirror to look at her makeup, while humming a light song. Her blissful look made her even more cute and lovely. Leo William glanced at her. His heart actually moved. He couldn't help but mock himself in his heart. Now that he had placed her at the top of his heart, he was really afraid that there would be any mishaps. Thus, after having such worries, he would worry about her every day. "Don't take any pictures. You look really pretty today," the man said affirmatively. "I know, but I feel like I choose the wrong lipstick today. This lipstick is too fresh and tender, and it shows that I'm not stable enough. No, I have to switch to another lipstick." Marianne muttered. "You decide. I think you're doing well anyway." Leo William really didn't know anything about girls' cosmetics, so every time he gave Marianne a present of all the types of the models, allowing her to choose among herself. Marianne sat down obediently, pulling on her seatbelt, and accompanied him to monitor the situation on the road. "Oh right, Mary, there is something that I have always been curious about," Leo William said suddenly. "What is it?" Hearing his serious tone, Marianne's expression became tense. "Don't be nervous. I just want to know why your surname is Ann. Your mother's surname is Ann. Why don't you use her surname?" Leo William chuckled. "I heard from my mom that before I was 3 years old, my mother was forced by my grandparents to date someone else. However, after my mother went on a hunger strike and almost lost her life, my grandparents brought me back, but they asked my mother to call me her adopted daughter, not her biological daughter. Since my mother agreed to this condition, I have always followed my previous adoptive father's surname. Actually, my mother has always wished for me to have a grandfather with her surname. Marianne leaned against the back of the chair, her eyes red. She swore to herself that she would become more outstanding, and that she would have the ability to be filial in the future. So that's how it is. Leo William finally understood the bitterness of this situation. My mom is such a good person, but before this, I always made her angry. I really don't know what's good for me. Marianne was even more self-reproachful. Perhaps she could only wait until she had a child before she could experience the greatness and tolerance of a mother. In this world, motherly love was definitely something that was worthy of reverence. You are still young right now, so it's already quite good that you are able to realize this. Very good that I, from the younger generation, am still unable to experience the hardships of my parents. Leo William comforted her gently. Leo William, do you have a middle-aged man by your side who hasn't married yet? Or, for a divorce, as long as his character is good, I want to introduce him to my mother. I don't want her to stay single forever. I want someone to take care of her. Marianne suddenly asked him anxiously. Leo William was startled, then thought about it carefully. I know a few that are not bad, but I'm afraid your mother might not like them. No, my mom doesn't. No, my mom has completely given up on men. It's not that she's picky, it's just that she doesn't believe that men will treat her sincerely. What should I do? Marianne covered her face with her hands, looking depressed and anxious. Perhaps she really does need to meet someone by destiny to be able to untie the knot in her heart and heal the pain in her heart. Don't worry about this sort of thing. Your mother is so nice. The God will treat her fairly. Leo William really didn't know how to comfort her. I know that matters of the heart cannot be forced upon. I can only pray to the God that her mom can find that person as soon as possible. Marianne sighed. Just at this time, the car turned around and stopped in front of a five-star hotel. Today's jewelry exhibition was held on the second floor of the building, and the people invited were all in the industry. At this moment, in the hotel lobby, not only were there star celebrities, but also many reporters and media. It was extremely lively. Leo William was dressed leisurely today, and his hair looked a little younger, unlike how he would usually comb his hair behind his back. He released all of his aura, and today, he had regained his young temperament of 28 years old. Is that the Mr. William? He actually accompanied Marianne to attend the fashion show? It looks like he really dotes on this little girlfriend. The low-key head of the William family doesn't even hesitate to expose himself to the camera. I heard that he really doted on Marianne and gave her gifts every few days. I wonder how many women envy to death. Get it? I want to snatch the exclusive one. Leo William and Marianne walked into the hall. When they almost reached the signature wall on the red carpet, Leo William was still walking along a pathway at a low profile, but Mary did not make it difficult for Leo to accompany her to sign. After she finished signing her name, she quickly walked in Leo William's direction. As the two of them walked forward hand in hand, not too far away, the eyes of a mother and daughter were about to drip with venom. Mom, do you see that? That little bitch don't come alone. Amanda Addison clenched her fists tightly and gritted her teeth. When she thought of the man she liked holding her hand, she became so angry that her face turned green. I don't care how many people come here today. I just want to expose this shameless bastard of hers. Beverly Batt snorted coldly. Chapter 1280. So she was not a rival in love. Gabriel Addison and Belen had a daughter, and it had always been a thorn in Beverly Batts's heart. Although it was she who had done too much and took the initiative to break up with Gabriel Addison at that year, and which caused Belen to enter into their relationship, and even gave birth to their daughter. But Beverly Batts had the temper of a young miss. How could she endure such a betrayal? In this period of time, she had been arguing with Gabriel Addison at home every day, and Gabriel Addison had not returned home for a few days in a row. Not only that, he secretly quit his job, and Beverly Batts was almost angered to death when she heard it. If she still tried to do something about it, it must be his decent job. She didn't expect him to give up all his work. He didn't want a family, and he didn't want his job. He just wanted to reunite with Belen and her daughter, right? No, she wouldn't agree even if she died. Mom, how about we make a ruckus another day? Leo William is here today. However, Amanda Addison backed off. She didn't want to make a fool of herself in front of the man she liked, so she lost her image. What other day? We've blocked this little bitch's way a few times already, and she's already escaped. Today, we finally see her appear. Do you want to give up? Beverly Batts stared at her daughter in disappointment and anger. But I don't want Leo William to see me acting like a shrew. Maybe there's still a chance between him and me, no matter how outstanding this man is. As long as he's Marianne's boyfriend, he's our enemy. I won't let go of this chance, Beverly Batts said resentfully. Amanda Addison understood her mother's temper. Today, she would make trouble. All right, we just need to reveal the truth and make Marianne lose face. Don't offend Leo William. I really like him. Amanda Addison still reached out and tugged on her mother's sleeve, her face full of pleading. All right, I just want Mary to shine as a bastard. The media will deal with her naturally. Beverly Batts snorted coldly, her eyes shining with a poisonous light. All right, if that's the case, then father's reputation. Does he still have the face to be your father? Do you not see him defending Belen's family? His reputation should have been ruined long ago. How could he have the qualifications to be the deputy mayor of a two-timing man like him? Furthermore, he doesn't want to continue working for a long time and have even left him some face. Beverly Batts gritted her teeth in hatred, and the mother and daughter pair followed the crowd and headed towards the venue. Mom, how are we going to do that? Do you have a way? After all, Amanda Addison was young. She did not have many thoughts. I heard that she is today's model. When she comes on stage, we will rush up to her and question her in front of a group of people. I don't think she will have the face to stand on stage. Beverly Batts took out her shameless personality and decided that even if she had to lose face today, she had to vent the hatred in her heart. Fine, Mom. How about you go up on stage by yourself? I'll just watch from below the stage. You are the useless little girl. Is that man really that important? Beverly Batts stared at her daughter in disappointment. Mom, he's the only man I'm tempted about. I really don't want to embarrass myself too much. Amanda Addison was so anxious that she was about to cry. Beverly Batts could only say angrily, Fine, hide away later and don't let him see you. I'm going to go for broke today anyway. Thank you, Mom. Amanda Addison heaved a sigh of relief. Mary Ann was a part-time model specially invited to be a guest today. Once she entered the stage, she immediately went backstage. Leo Williams' seating was arranged at the front, and the moment she walked over, he saw a familiar person. That was right. It was the popular male star Bryant who had just fought with Marianne. Leo William narrowed his beautiful eyes. The seats for the two were actually arranged together, making him feel inexplicably unhappy. President William, where's Mary? Bryant smiled and asked him. She's backstage. Leo William showed a good demeanor while politely smiling. A female voice came from the side. Is she Miss Anne's boyfriend? Leo William turned his head to look and saw a beautiful woman wearing a beige dress sitting beside Bryant. He was slightly startled. Seeing Leo William staring at his girlfriend, Bryant coughed lightly and introduced, "This is my girlfriend, Robin." "Hello." Hearing his introduction, Leo Williams' depressed mood inexplicably relaxed, and he immediately smiled at Robin with a face full of smiles. Robin was also confused. She did not know why this man had such a brilliant smile. Bryant also noticed that Leo Williams seemed to be interested in his girlfriend, and quickly sat up straight to block his sight. Leo William realized that he had overdone it. He laughed awkwardly and asked casually, "Bryant, which industry is your girlfriend in? Are she one of your people?" "No, she's a lawyer," Bryant replied in a friendly manner. "Oh, that's really interesting. I think you are looking for someone from the inner circle." Leo William deliberately asked this because he was afraid that Bryant would fall for a young and beautiful girl like Marianne. "Isn't President William and Mary from the same circle?" From this, we can see that love is not separated into different industries. It only depends on fate, Bryant said with a light smile. Leo William was very much in agreement and nodded. "That's true. Liking each other is the most important." Leo William and Bryant had a lot of topics to talk about. Maybe Leo William also wanted to know more about Marianne's business, and it just so happened that Bryant could help him understand a little more about Marianne. The two men continued to chat quietly as they watched, and the atmosphere was extremely harmonious. Although Robin was a woman, she did not know much about luxury goods. She had only come here to admire the handsome beauties, but of course, she had also realized that she was a woman, and for the sake of love and the man by her side, she decided to live a delicate life that a woman should have. It would take a period of time, but she was working hard. "Do that man look good?" The moment Bryant turned around, he discovered that Robin was staring at the male model's long legs, and her eyes were rolling around. Without blinking, Bryant immediately went close to her ear and asked her, "Good." Robin was a true woman, and only spoke the truth. But the truth was often the most hurtful. As expected, in the next second, a powerful palm wrapped around her waist. Robin's body trembled. Following that, the man extended his other hand, blocking her eyes. "What are you doing? Aren't you the one who asks me to come over to take a look? Why aren't you letting me watch?" Robin was speechless. When this man became tyrannical, he was truly inhumane. You can look, but you can't stare at a man for more than 2 seconds. Robin heard the man's warning in a low tone of danger. "I think people still need to remember seconds. This is making things too difficult for me." Robin was immediately angered by him to the point of laughing. She had always felt that this man had a childish temperament, but now it seemed that he was more than just a little. "I don't care. You better know your limits," Bryant said angrily. "Look, beautiful ladies have arrived. Hurry up and take another look," Robin shouted softly. Bryant really did raise his head to look, and in order to piss her off, he intentionally stared at the beauties a few times, waiting for the lady beside him to get jealous. "So beautiful, their skin is so white. I wonder how they take care of it. For the first time, Robin realized that she really wasn't like a woman. The other women were all too exquisite, but she lived to be as casual and simple as a man. Bryant immediately fainted. "Can I help you ask for it later?" the man asked her coldly. "Can you? Then help me ask." Robin laughed. "There's no need to ask. After watching the show, I'll take you to buy cosmetics. Take good care of yourself. You won't be worse than them." A man was definitely a man of action. Saying it out loud wasn't enough. He still had to do something practical. The whispers of a couple next to her drifted to Leo Williams' ears from time to time. His thin lips were pressed into a line, and it took a long time for him to hold back the urge to laugh. But now, looking at him, Leo seemed to be asking for trouble. Bryant already had the woman he wanted to protect, and furthermore, why did all the men look like they were the same when they were jealous? Domineering like a child. Chapter 1281. Protect her in your arms. Marianne was a special guest today, and she was wearing a diamond necklace called Angel's Wings. This was a masterpiece by a famous designer. So beautiful. Marianne's finger gently touched a teardrop-shaped diamond in the center as she softly muttered, "A woman's love for beauty always made them unable to resist these sparkling things." The jewelry show was officially opened and a group of models had already left the stage. The audience's eyes were focused on the shiny jewelry, and they heard that after today's exhibition, there would be a large-scale auction where a portion of the jewelry would be auctioned off for the guests to choose from. The reason why Leo, William and Bryant came here was obviously not to see beauties. Their goal was the same, to get a jewelry that they liked for their girl. Marianne had changed into a pure white, long dress with white feathers at the bottom of the dress. It made her look like an angel that had accidentally fallen into the mortal world, bright and dazzling, so beautiful that one couldn't shift their eyes away. Marianne's skin was very white. The tight and youthful lines around her waist made her look even more youthful and charming. The designer was very satisfied with her mannerism, praising her in all kinds of ways, even helping her to fix her clothes and long hair. The end of her long hair was curled up, and she was also indolent. However, on her head was a diamond crown, causing her temperament to be filled with elegance. "Mary, it's your turn. Please get ready to go," the staff came over to report. Mary Ann took in a deep breath. She had often helped branded platforms in the past, but why was she so nervous today? Was it because there was a man on the stage that made her heart race? Mary Ann pinched the center of her palm, only to realize that she was sweating profusely. In the middle of winter, she was actually sweating profusely. "Mary, it's your turn," someone on the side shouted anxiously. Marianne immediately took her stance, and walked towards the stage with light steps. Once she came out, the light was bright, and there were no empty seats in front of him. Marianne's beautiful eyes seemed to be filled with a pool of spring water, rippling with luster, very enchanting. With every step she took, the rhythm of her movements was extremely good. The pure white dress she dragged along with the glittering necklace on her chest, was extremely beautiful. Below the stage, Leo William was not willing to shift his gaze away. He watched absent-mindedly as she walked over amidst the light, her graceful figure causing a myriad of emotions to her eyes that did not belong to her age. Leo Williams subconsciously rolled his throat. At such a young age, she already had such a beautiful temperament. In a few years, she will probably be even more beautiful. His heart tensed up. This will be the first time he felt afraid of not being able to control her strength, and for a moment, he wished that he could be a few years younger to match his beautiful youth. Marianne's beautiful eyes carried a smile, and unintentionally blinked at Leo William. Others only thought that she was cute and mischievous, but only Leo William knew that this girl was teasing him. Marianne gracefully turned her body, and in exchange, got a warm round of applause. Leo William's soul was dragged back to her body by the sudden clapping, and started to mock himself. His handsome face was actually becoming slightly hot. What was he thinking? Such a ridiculous thought had actually occurred to him. Just as Marianne was about to finish walking on stage, suddenly, a middle-aged lady wearing fur jumped onto the stage and grabbed onto Marianne's wrist. "Little bitch, don't go yet. I have something to ask you." Beverly Batts had come over today with full of hatred, but seeing that Marianne had received the praise of the crowd and was about to turn back to the backstage, how could she still hold back her anger? Marianne looked at this strong lady in shock. She had never seen her before. She only knew that Gabriel Addison had a wife who did not have a good relationship with him, and had never really seen her before. "Madam, please do not disturb us today's scram. I do not find trouble with you two. I just want this bastard to explain clearly why you and your mother Belen want to seduce my husband, Gabriel Addison. You two shameless mother and daughter. How dare you come here and embarrass yourselves?" Beverly Batts bellowed, and was afraid that everyone would not be able to hear what she said, so she had even explained everyone's names clearly. "Let her go," a cold male voice sounded. Following that, a huge palm forcefully pushed Beverly Batts away, protecting the terrified Marianne in his embrace. Leo Williams stared at Beverly Batts with eyes that were like cold lightning. "When you are reprimanding others, do you also realize how inferior your own quality is, and how laughable your actions are?" When Beverly Batts walked over and spoke up for Marianne, she immediately sat down on the ground and wailed, "You're bullying me. Everyone helps me judge the situation. My husband, Gabriel Addison, was seduced by her mother into giving birth to this little fox 20 years ago, and now, she has learnt to seduce men at such a young age." Bryant also pulled Robin closer, and when he saw the woman who looked like a shrew sitting on the floor, Bryant looked at her and immediately said, "Madam, you have messed up today's jewelry show. May I ask, how were you planning to compensate for the losses? Be it cash or swipe a card?" Hearing that she had to pay up, Beverly Batts rolled over and stood up, pointing at Bryant yelled, "What nonsense are you talking about? How can you blame me for that? This is obviously Marianne, the little slut's fault. If her mother didn't seduce my husband, why would I come here and make a ruckus?" Bryant laughed coldly. "I can guarantee you that Edna's a good girl with good character, but what about you, Aunt? Everyone here can prove that you are an unreasonable slut. You only know how to make fun of other people's little girl. What do you say? Who are you? If you scold me like this, I can sue you for it." Beverly Batts never thought that so many people would jump out to speak up for Mary, and she instantly felt that she was alone, immediately venting her grievances on Bryant. "Is the lady going to court? I can help you. It just so happens that I'm a professional lawyer in this area. It's great that we have evidence as to whether your conduct today is proper or not," Robin said with a cold face and a business-like tone. Beverly Batts's expression was startled. She lowered her head to look, only to see Robin's fingers holding Bryant's hand tightly. Her aura was immediately extinguished. She stared hatefully at Marianne, and then stared at Leo William. At this time, Amanda Addison hid in the crowd. She did not dare come up and help, because she was truly afraid of losing face in front of the man she liked. "All right, little slut. I'll get even with you next time." Beverly Batts really did not have the courage to continue arguing. She quickly jumped off the stage and walked away. Marianne's beautiful face turned pale white. Her beautiful eyes filled with injury as she looked at Leo William. "It's fine now. Go and change your clothes." Leo William consoled her by lightly patting her shoulder. Marianne looked at Bryant and Robin gratefully. "Thank you for your help." The expressions of the spectators below the stage were all different, but many women were still envious of Marianne. When she met with the criticism, there was a man who recklessly stood out for her, hugging her tightly to prevent her from being assaulted by the storm. Marianne returned to the backstage as if she had lost her soul. She took out the string of beautiful necklaces on her body, and carefully put them down. Leo William was waiting for her outside the door. Seeing her face lose its luster as if she was injured, he felt his heart ache as well. "Mary, let's go. Let's leave this place first." Today should have been a time of great charm and grace for her. However, due to an unexpected accident, she had become a joke in the eyes of others. Chapter 1282. High Ascension. On the way back, Marianne's entire being was weighed down by heavy worries. Leo William saw this in his eyes and felt the pain in his heart. He knew that this was a hurdle that Marianne would never be able to cross in her entire life. The perfect family that others had was simply extravagant hope for her. Today, the woman scolded her and her mother in public, and the blow to her was absolutely fatal. "She is Gabriel Addison's wife." After a long while, Marianne finally said that in a muffled voice. Leo William nodded her head. "It seems like it's her. She deliberately picks a fight at this time. It seems that she has been paying attention to you for a long time. Do my mother and I really hurt her? But we've never done anything to ruin their marriage. Why would she do that?" Marianne was scolded until she was at a loss. From a young age, to her knowledge, her mother did not even keep Gabriel Addison's phone number, much less take the initiative to contact him. However, looking at the woman's expression today, it was as if they had done something heinous and wicked. "Mary, don't think too much into it. This cannot be blamed on you. Just blame it on Gabriel Addison. He was the one who makes this mistake." Leo William looked at her confused expression and really wanted to hug her tightly, blocking her ears and preventing her from listening in on those embarrassing curses again. "I'm fine. I'm just afraid that she'll scold my mother like that." "No, I have to go find my mother and remind her." "Leo William, send me there." Marianne held back her tears and said anxiously, "Don't worry, I believe your mother will be able to handle this. I'll send you there now." Leo William saw that her eyes were filled with tears and could not control herself. He reached out to hold her trembling hand tightly and consoled her in a low voice. "I will find this woman and talk. I will not let her hurt you and your mother again. She definitely won't talk properly. She hates us so much." Marianne closed her eyes as tears rolled down her cheeks. "Since we can't talk properly, let's talk in a different way. In short, if she dares to look for you, I won't let her off." Leo William could still remember the panicked expression on Marianne's face when she was holding onto her wrist on the stage. He did not want her to experience that kind of pain as if someone was ruthlessly stabbing his heart with a knife. "You don't need to do these things for me. This is my family's matter. My mom and I will think of a way to solve this. Marianne didn't want to trouble him. Your problem is my problem. Remember, don't say such things again. Leo Williams' handsome face froze for a second, and he angrily reminded her. Marianne looked at him with her beautiful eyes. Seeing the determination in his eyes, she finally smiled. Beverly Bates scolded and came out. When she turned her head, she saw her daughter running towards her from the crowd, and immediately scolded, "You heartless thing, I am surrounded by so many people just now. Why don't you come and help me? Are you my biological daughter or not?" "Mom, I feel that our actions today are not too good. If not, the next time we go to Belle's house and cause trouble, so that her neighbors can all hear us, they won't have the face to live there anymore." Amanda Addison also felt that she was too cowardly. She did not help her mother just now. She blamed herself, and so she continued to come up with ideas. "Do you see that? That man is so nervous for Marianne. He has always been protecting her. What do you love about him?" Beverly Bates was extremely furious. She felt that her daughter was too blind. "Mom, Leo William is really outstanding. It's just that I don't know what method that little bitch Marianne used, and only knew that she had acted pitifully in front of him, which made him have the urge to protect her. Mom, I really like him. What would happen if Marianne died? He may belong to me." Amanda Addison suddenly started to cry, feeling wronged, while clenching her teeth. "What are you crying for? What does Mommy usually teach you? If you want something, then go after it. If you want a man, then go after him. Why haven't you learned my wisdom at all? You really don't look like my own daughter." Beverly Bates had an expression of disappointment. "Mom, do you use some method to snatch Dad back then?" Amanda Addison suddenly asked. Beverly Bates snorted coldly. "Your father was so handsome at that time, and was a rare handsome man. Many young masters and mistresses fought to like him, and in the end, he even belongs to me. Mom, do you really use shameful methods to snatch Dad away?" Amanda Addison was incomparably shocked. "In our era, it's not like the young people nowadays. After sleeping for a while, you can pretend to be a stranger in the next day. At the times, I got your dad drunk, so that was why I had you. Do you understand?" When Beverly Bates mentioned what happened at the year, she was somewhat smug about it. "Mom, how can you? Why can't I? Women only have a few years of youth, so of course I have to think of all ways to steal the man I like. When you are old enough, which man would like you?" "Amanda, I support you to pursue the life that you desire, and even more so, I support you to snatch away Marianne's man." Beverly was crazy. She already did not want to be a good mother, nor did she want to be a good role model anymore. Now, she only wished that she had not discovered the relationship between Gabriel Addison and Belen in time, and that was why she failed today. "Mom, can I snatch Leo William away?" Amanda Addison had an expression of encouragement. "Why couldn't you do that? Leo William isn't married to her. It is legal for you to steal it away from Mary." Beverly Bates opened the car door and sat inside, closing it tightly. Amanda Addison's expression froze for a few seconds. Then she also sat down. Right, what her mother said made sense. As long as he was not married, everything was still possible. Alvina Miller headed to the office very early in the morning. The moment she entered, she heard people talking about something. She pricked up her ears to listen, and suddenly the crowd scattered, as if they didn't want to tell her. Alvina Miller was shocked in her heart. She was done for. Could it be that her relationship with Joseph Grant had been revealed? Alvina Miller hurried over to her desk and sat down, while Kelly bowed her head and wrote something down. Alvina Miller leaned over to greet her. "Kelly, you're writing your diary again. Congratulations. You've leveled up so quickly." Kelly suddenly turned her head and looked at Alvina coldly, then said a few unfathomable words. "Ah, what?" Alvina Miller's beautiful face was filled with surprise. Just then, Carl Black walked out and called out to her name. "Alvina Miller, come in." Alvina Miller walked in, completely confused. Carl Black sat in front of the desk with her hands folded across each other, and thought, "Alvina, this morning, I came to the personnel department door to be informed about a matter concerning your assignment. There is a quiet spot in the archive office, and the higher-ups have decided to send you over. Promoting? What position is this?" Alvina Miller's mind buzzed. "It's the place where the documents are filed. There are a lot of confidential information about the country. For these documents, we have set up an independent department where the staff work is more leisurely. You should pack your stuff and go over to report." Carl Black's tone of voice sounded official, but it was obvious that it was slightly sour. Alvina Miller had only been in office for a short while. Although she was well-versed in many different languages and had good performance, there were a lot of people who were qualified for this position. Why did their luck end up on her head? "Oh, then thank you, Miss Carl, for your guidance these past few days." Alvina Miller immediately smiled in gratitude. Carl Black nodded her head, expressing her agreement. "I won't be able to take care of you once we get there, but you probably don't need my care either, since your boyfriend is the most reliable person you have to rely on, right?" Alvina Miller immediately laughed dryly. "No way. Why did everyone feel that her boyfriend was Lieutenant Hilton? God, wasn't this killing her?" Alvina Miller's new position was already at the same level as Carl Black, so it was not excessive to say that she rose in rank. Furthermore, her job in the archives was much more leisurely and her salary was also a little higher. Alvina Miller walked over to her seat and started to tidy up the mess. "Alvina, does your boyfriend help you get off your relationship?" Kelly suddenly asked. Alvina Miller laughed awkwardly. "I'm not sure either." Kelly felt that Alvina Miller was really hypocritical. She had obviously just gone through the back door, yet she still could not explain it clearly. "Alvina, are we friends? If you have a good position in the future, can you help me fight for it?" Kelly pleaded with a bashful face, then laughed at herself. "For people like me who don't have any family background, taking a step up would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens." Alvina Miller could only politely say, "All right, I'll keep out for you." But in her heart, Alvina Miller somehow wanted to distance herself from Kelly. For some reason, it was because she might have a crush on Joseph. She wasn't stupid enough to be friends with her love rival.